"Son, forgive Mommy. There's no dinner this year," she said, her voice trembling as she tried to sound strong. The millionaire, standing a few meters away, felt something break inside him. 5 minutes later, what he did would change the course of that night forever. "But Mommy, can we buy a little turkey?" Joel's voice carried that mix of hope and disappointment that only children can express. His small fingers clung to the nearly empty shopping cart as his eyes scanned the festive food section of the supermarket. Mariana Sales knelt to meet her 5-year-old son's gaze. Her face, framed by strands of brown hair escaping a haphazard ponytail, tried to maintain a smile despite the lump in her throat. She wore a worn gray sweater that had seen better days, much like herself. "Joel, listen," she whispered, taking her son's small hand in hers. "This year will be different. We can do something special. Just you and me. We don't need a big turkey, but we always have turkey at Christmas," Joel insisted. His large eyes filled with a premature understanding for his age. "Is it because Dad isn't with us anymore?" Mariana swallowed hard. Her ex-husband had abandoned the family nearly a year ago, leaving her with debts, a tiny apartment, and the responsibility of raising Joel alone, while juggling 2 poorly paid jobs. "No, my love," she replied softly. "It's because prices are very high this year. Son, forgive Mommy. There's no dinner this year, at least not like the ones we used to have. But I promise we'll do something special. Yes, maybe some Christmas cookies. We can decorate them together." She tried to make her voice sound enthusiastic, but the reality was she could barely afford basic groceries. The latest electricity bill had consumed what she'd set aside for the Christmas dinner, and her next paycheck wouldn't arrive until after the holidays. A few meters away, Augusto de Lima observed the scene while pretending to examine a bottle of imported wine. In his perfectly tailored navy suit and upright posture, he looked out of place in this neighborhood supermarket. Normally, his personal assistant handled such mundane tasks. But for the past few years, Augusto had made a habit to do some shopping himself on the eve of the holidays. It was his peculiar way of connecting with reality, as he liked to think. What began as simple curiosity upon hearing the woman's faltering voice turned into genuine interest as he witnessed their exchange. There was something about the mother's dignity and the boy's maturity that contrasted sharply with the superficial conversations that filled his life. At 40, Augusto de Lima had built a real estate empire that placed him among the country's most successful entrepreneurs. He had everything money could buy: a mansion in the city's most exclusive neighborhood, a collection of luxury cars, and artwork worth millions. Yet, as he watched this woman console her son with the promise of simple homemade cookies, he felt a familiar emptiness settle in his chest. The previous night, he had hosted a lavish pre-Christmas dinner at his residence. 50 guests, a Michelin-starred chef, exquisite decorations, and French champagne. He recalled the overly loud laughter, the shallow conversations, the exaggerated compliments. "Augusto, this party is magnificent. You should have seen Rodriguez's envious face when I walked into your house. That painting must have cost a fortune, right?" No one had asked how he was truly doing, what he felt, or what he hoped for in the new year. "Mommy, can we at least get these cookies?" The boy's voice brought him back to the present. Joel held a box of star-shaped Christmas cookies, while Mariana checked the price with an expression Augusto instantly recognized, the mental calculation of someone who counts every cent. "It's okay, my love, but we'll have to put the cereal back then," she replied, swapping the items in the cart. Augusto felt an impulse he couldn't explain. He set the wine bottle down and walked purposefully toward the pair. As he approached, he noticed details he hadn't seen before. The dark circles under Mariana's tired eyes, the small paint stains on Joel's nails suggesting recent school art projects, the care with which the mother arranged a few items in her cart to maximize her limited budget. "Excuse me," Augusto said, surprising himself with the softness of his tone. Normally, his voice in boardrooms was firm and authoritative. Now it sounded almost tentative. Mariana looked up, instantly on guard. A single mother with a child quickly learns to be cautious around strangers, especially men in expensive suits. "Yes, sorry for the intrusion," Augusto continued, suddenly feeling awkward. "I couldn't help overhearing your conversation, and I was wondering if I could invite you to a Christmas dinner." The words spilled out before he could analyze them. It wasn't like him to make impulsive invitations, let alone to strangers in a supermarket. His life was meticulously planned, every meeting carefully evaluated for its strategic value. Mariana frowned, confused and wary. "Sorry, I haven't introduced myself properly. I'm Augusto de Lima." He extended his hand, aware that his name likely meant nothing to her, which, strangely, felt refreshing. "Mariana Sales," she replied automatically, shaking his hand briefly. "And this is my son, Joao." "Hi," the boy said, looking at him with childish curiosity. "You have a very fancy suit. Are you a prince?" Augusto couldn't help but smile at the question. He couldn't remember the last time he'd smiled so spontaneously. "No, I'm not a prince. Just a man who's going to spend Christmas alone and would rather not." Mariana seemed taken aback. She studied Augusto more closely, evaluating him. His suit probably cost more than 3 months' rent, but there was something in his eyes, a loneliness she recognized because she saw it reflected in her own mirror every morning. "Mr. de Lima, I appreciate your offer, but we don't know each other." "Please, call me Augusto," he interrupted gently. "And I completely understand your hesitation. My proposal must sound entirely inappropriate." "A little, yes," Marianne admitted with a cautious smile. "It's not common for a stranger in a supermarket to invite a mother and her son to dinner." "You're absolutely right," Augusto conceded. He hesitated, considering how to proceed without seeming stranger or more intimidating. "Perhaps we could have a coffee right here. The supermarket has a small cafe. You could get to know me a bit and decide if my invitation is worth considering." Joao tugged at his mother's sweater sleeve. "Mommy, can we? We never have coffee at the supermarket." Mariana studied Augusto for another moment. Her instincts told her he posed no immediate danger, and the idea of sitting down and resting for a few minutes before heading home with her meager purchases was tempting. Besides, the cafe was in plain view, a public place. "1 coffee," she said finally. "Just that." The supermarket's small cafe was nothing like the upscale restaurants Augusto frequented. Plastic tables, machine-dispensed coffee, and industrial pastries under fluorescent-lit displays. Yet, as he watched Joao enjoy a hot chocolate with the intensity only children can muster for small things, he felt this place had something Michelin-star restaurants couldn't offer. "So," Mariana began after an initial awkward silence, "why would a man like you spend Christmas alone, if it's not too intrusive to ask?" Augusto stirred his coffee, reflecting on how to respond. "I suppose it's the result of prioritizing work over relationships for too long," he said finally. "I built a successful business, but neglected to build a family." "You don't have anyone? Parents, siblings?" "My father passed away years ago. My mother lives in Europe with her new husband. We call each other during the holidays, but the relationship is cordial at best. I have a brother in Australia, but we haven't spoken in a while." "I'm sorry," Mariana said, and what surprised Augusto most was that she seemed sincere. There wasn't a trace of the false pity he often received in his social circle. "And you?" he asked, genuinely interested. "If you don't mind talking about it." Mariana sighed lightly, running a hand through Joao's hair as he focused on drawing with crayons a waitress had provided. "Joao's father left us last year. One day, he just said he wasn't cut out for family life and left. He works in another city now, sends some money occasionally, but it's not enough. I work as a secretary in the mornings and clean offices in the evenings." She said it without self-pity, as a simple statement of fact. Her dignity impressed Augusto. "That must be hard," he commented. "It is," she admitted. "But I have Joao, and that makes up for everything." She looked at her son with pride that Augusto found moving. "He's an incredible kid, intelligent, compassionate. Even when I explain we can't afford certain things, like the Christmas dinner he so wants, he understands. Sometimes I think he understands too much for his age." Joao looked up from his drawing. "Look, Mommy, I'm drawing you." He pointed to 2 stick figures, one with long wavy hair, and another with what seemed to be a blue rectangle representing a suit. "And this is Mr. Augusto. He's a great artist." Augusto smiled, feeling an inexplicable warmth in his chest at the child's simple gesture of including him in his art. "About your proposal." Mariana said after a moment, returning to the original topic. It's very kind, but I understand your caution, Augusto interrupted gently. Truly, and you're absolutely right to be cautious. Let me make a different proposal. I could provide the ingredients for a Christmas dinner. You cook at your home, just for you and Joao. No obligations, no expectations. Mariana seemed surprised by this twist. That's unexpected. Or, if you prefer, Augusto continued, I could reserve a table at a restaurant. You choose the place. You can go with Joao, with friends, or family if you prefer. I'll simply cover the costs. Mariana stared at him, clearly bewildered. Why would you do that for strangers? It was a valid question, one Augusto was only beginning to understand himself. Why did he feel this need to help this woman and her son? Was it simple Christmas altruism, or was there something deeper, a connection to the authenticity they represented in contrast to the falsehood that surrounded him daily? Honestly, he began, deciding that the truth, however uncomfortable, was the only thing he could offer. Seeing your son ask for a dinner you couldn't afford made me realize how empty my own celebration is. I have everything money can buy, but nothing that truly matters during these times. Genuine connection, family, meaning. Joao, who had been listening despite pretending to focus on his drawing, suddenly spoke up. If you don't have a family for Christmas, you can come to our house. Mommy makes the best cookies in the world, even if we can only make a few this year. Joao. Mariana seemed mortified by her son's spontaneous invitation, but Augusto felt something extraordinary in that moment. A warmth he hadn't experienced in years. The simplicity and generosity of a child who had so little but was willing to share it moved him deeply. That's a very special invitation, he said, looking at Joao with genuine gratitude. Then he turned to Mariana. I don't mean to impose. I just want to help you have the Christmas dinner you deserve. No strings attached. Mariana studied the man before her, this stranger in an expensive suit with eyes that reflected a familiar loneliness. Against all her better judgment, something about him inspired trust. Perhaps it was the way he looked at Joao, without condescension, with genuine interest. Or maybe it was simply that she recognized in him a kind of solitude she'd experienced herself. I suppose we could consider your offer for the ingredients, she said finally. But I need to think about it. I'm not used to accepting help from strangers. Of course, Augusto replied, pulling a card from his wallet. It was a simple, elegant card with his name and phone number. No grandiose titles or corporate logos. Take all the time you need. My offer stands. As Mariana took the card with some hesitation, Augusto reflected on the unusual situation. He had entered the supermarket looking for a bottle of wine for his solitary Christmas Eve and somehow ended up offering a dinner to a stranger's family. It wasn't like him to act on impulse. Yet for the first time in a long time, something about this interaction felt authentic, free from the layers of false politeness and calculation that characterizes usual relationships. We have to go, Mariana said, glancing at her watch. Joao has to prepare for his school presentation tomorrow. I'm a reindeer, Joao announced proudly. I have a red nose and everything. I bet you'll be the best reindeer in the show, Augusto smiled. As he watched them gather their things and prepare to leave, he felt a strange reluctance to end the encounter. Can I at least pay for your groceries today? He offered, gesturing to the modest cart they'd left by the table. Mariana hesitated, but finally nodded. Thank you. That's very kind of you. At the checkout, Augusto discreetly added a few extra items. A small turkey, ingredient for stuffing, fresh vegetables, and a box of Christmas cookies for decorating. He did it without fanfare, almost as an afterthought. When it came time to say goodbye in the parking lot, Joao surprised Augusto with an impulsive hug around his legs. Thank you for the hot chocolate and for helping Mommy with the groceries, the boy said. Augusto, momentarily taken aback by the gesture, crouched to the boy's level. Thank you for sharing your afternoon with me, Joao. It was the best part of my week. And as he said those words, he realized they were absolutely true. Amid meetings with executives, multimillion-dollar negotiations, and high-profile events, this simple interaction in a supermarket cafe with a working mother and her 5-year-old son had been the most real thing he'd experienced in a long time. Mariana took Joao's hand, ready to leave. "Thank you again, Mr. de Lima." "Augusto, please," he insisted. "Augusto," she conceded with a small smile. "I'll consider your offer, truly." As he watched them walk toward a modest compact car, Augusto stood still in the parking lot, completely forgetting that he'd come to buy wine and that his driver was likely waiting nearby. For the first time in years, he felt something significant had happened, something he couldn't express in terms of profit or loss, something that just maybe could fill the persistent void that lavish parties and professional achievements had failed to eliminate. Augusto's driver, Rodrigo, watched his boss curiously as he approached the sleek black sedan. After 15 years working for him, he rarely saw him with such a thoughtful, almost vulnerable expression. "Everything all right, sir?" Rodrigo asked as Augusto settled into back seat. "Yes, Rodrigo, just thinking." Augusto gazed out the window at the modest car, where Mariana was helping Joao buckle his seatbelt. "You have kids, right?" The question caught the driver off guard. In all his years of service, Augusto had never shown interest in his personal life. "Yes, sir. 2 girls, 8 and 10. "And what do you do for Christmas?" Rodrigo adjusted the rearview mirror, meeting his boss's gaze. "My wife makes a traditional dinner. Nothing fancy, but it's our favorite time of year." Augusto nodded slowly, reflecting on the driver's words. "You know, I don't remember the last time I had a genuine Christmas dinner, one made with love, not obligation." The driver remained silent, puzzled by his usually reserved employer's sudden introspection. "To the house, please," Augusto said finally, pulling out his phone and typing something with determination. In her 2-bedroom apartment on the city's outskirts, Mariana was helping Joao practice his reindeer role for the next day's school performance. The little plastic red nose refused to stay in place, sparking laughter between mother and son. "Mommy, look at all the things the man in the suit gave us." Joao pointed excitedly at the grocery bags on the kitchen counter. "There's a real turkey." Mariana looked at the additional items Augusto had quietly added to their purchases. It was a kind gesture, but it also made her uneasy. She wasn't accustomed to receiving help, especially from a wealthy stranger. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "I hope you got home safely. Sorry if my proposal was inappropriate. I just wanted to help. No expectations. Augusto." Mariana stared at the message for a long moment. In other circumstances, she would have ignored a stranger contacting her after a chance encounter. But something about Augusto felt genuine. Maybe it was the way he spoke to Joao, without condescension, with real interest. Or perhaps it was simply that, despite his obvious wealth, his eyes reflected a loneliness she recognized all too well. After hesitating, she replied, "Thank you for the extra ingredients." Joao was thrilled about the turkey. The response came almost immediately. "I'm glad. You deserve a proper Christmas dinner." Mariana bit her lip, carefully considering her next words. "If you don't have other commitments, our invitation stands. Simple dinner, but from the heart. Think about it." As she sent the message, she wondered if she'd made a mistake. She was inviting a complete stranger into her home, but something inside told her Augusto posed no threat. Just a lonely soul, like her. In his Belvedere mansion, Augusto reread Mariana's message while gazing at the grand living room, professionally decorated for the holidays. A towering 3-meter Christmas tree dominated the space, adorned with crystal ornaments and programmed lights that subtly shifted in intensity. Everything was perfect, elegant, and utterly devoid of meaning. His phone rang. It was Victor Mendez, his closest business partner. Augusto, confirming for the Christmas Eve party at the club. Carvajal's wife got that famous pianist for the event. It would be the party of the year. Augusto suddenly recalled the previous year's pre-Christmas dinner at the country club. Drunken executive faces, artificial laughter, conversations about yachts and stock markets. No one truly talking to anyone. "Sorry, Victor. I have other plans this year." "Other plans? You?" The surprise in his partner's voice was evident. "The party of some competitor offering better champagne, I bet." "No, something more personal," Augusto replied vaguely. "Personal? Since when do you have a personal life at Christmas?" The question, though posed in jest, struck Augusto with its raw truth. "Maybe it's time to change that," he replied simply before hanging up, looking at Mariana's message again. Simple dinner, but from the heart, the words resonated in a way he couldn't explain. After a moment of reflection, he responded, "I'd love to accept your invitation. Can I bring anything?" The reply came quickly. "Just your presence and maybe a board game. Joao loves them." Augusto smiled, feeling a warm anticipation he hadn't experienced in years. The next 2 days passed with a strange mix of normalcy and expectation for both. Mariana continued her usual routine, taking Joao to school, working at the office in the mornings, and cleaning apartments in the afternoons. Only her co-worker, Elena, noticed something different. "You're smiling more," Elena commented while they sorted files. "Did something good happen?" Mariana hesitated. How could she explain her encounter with Augusto without sounding completely absurd? "Joao will have his Christmas dinner after all," she replied finally. "And we might have a guest this year." "A guest?" Elena raised her eyebrows with interest. "Someone I should know about?" "Just a friend," Mariana said, surprised at how easily she used the word to describe Augusto. "Someone who doesn't have family to spend the holidays with." Meanwhile, Augusto found himself oddly distracted during his meetings. In the middle of a presentation on financial projections for the next quarter, he caught himself wondering what board game a 5-year-old might enjoy. During a lunch with potential investors, he pondered whether he should bring a dessert for the Christmas dinner. "Augusto," his assistant Carolina's voice snapped him back to reality. They were alone in his office, reviewing the next day's schedule. "Sorry, what were you saying?" Carolina looked at him with surprise. In 10 years working for him, she'd rarely seen him distracted. "I was asking if you wanted me to reserve your usual table at Les Etoiles for your Christmas Eve dinner." "That won't be necessary. I have other plans this year." The surprise on Carolina's face was evident. "Other plans? Do you want me to coordinate something different?" "No, Carolina, they're personal plans." The word personal hung in the air, almost alien in Augusto's usual vocabulary. The night before Christmas Eve, Augusto found himself in a toy store at the mall, a place he hadn't visited in decades. He felt completely out of his element among hurried parents and excited children. After consulting with a saleswoman, he settled on a simple yet engaging strategy board game suitable for all ages. At the register, he impulsively added a reindeer plush toy, remembering Joao's role in the school play. Back at his mansion, his housekeeper, Donna Constanza, eyed him curiously as he placed the carefully wrapped gifts on the entryway table. She'd worked with the De Lima family for over 20 years. "Going out tomorrow, sir?" she asked. "Yes, Constanza. I'll be dining out. Should I prepare something special for your return?" Augusto considered the question. For the first time in years, he hadn't planned every detail of his Christmas Eve. "That won't be necessary." In fact, he hesitated. "You can take the day off. Go be with your family." Donna Constanza looked at him as if he'd suddenly grown a second head. "Are you sure, sir? In all these years, you've never—" "I'm sure," he interrupted gently. "Family is important during these times. You should be with yours." That night, as he reviewed emails before bed, Augusto received a message from Mariana. "Joao asked 3 times a day how long until our special guest arrives. I hope his expectations don't scare you." Augusto smiled at the screen, feeling an inexplicable warmth in his chest. He replied, "On the contrary, I can't remember the last time someone looked forward to my presence for me, not for what I could offer. It's refreshing." After a brief reflection, he added, "Thank you for opening your home to a stranger. It means more than you know." In her small apartment, Mariana read Augusto's message with a smile as Joao slept clutching his favorite teddy bear. The turkey was ready to be cooked tomorrow, and she'd improvised some Christmas decorations with materials she had at home. It wasn't lavish, but she put her heart into every detail. She glanced at the photo on her nightstand, her and Joao last summer, smiling in a park. Since Alberto had left them, she'd built a life for the two of them, sacrificing much but always maintaining dignity and optimism. It wasn't easy, but she managed day by day, Was she crazy for inviting a wealthy stranger to share their modest Christmas dinner? Maybe. But something about Augusto, his recognizable loneliness, had touched her heart. Everyone deserved company at Christmas, even millionaires with empty mansions. She fell asleep thinking of the strange series of coincidences that had led to this moment. A simple comment to her son in the supermarket, overheard by a stranger, had sparked something unexpected, as if fate, or perhaps the Christmas spirit, had decided to intertwine two seemingly incompatible lives in search of something they both needed but didn't know they were seeking. Christmas Eve morning dawned cold but clear, with a sky so blue it seemed unreal over the city. Augusto woke before his alarm, unusual for him. Normally, he needed at least 2 cups of coffee to start the day, but today he felt strangely alert, almost expectant. His phone buzzed with a familiar sound of accumulating emails and messages. Ignoring the corporate holiday greetings and last-minute invitations, he searched for a message from Mariana and found it near the end. "Good morning. Joao was so excited he barely slept. We're expecting you at 7. Here's the address." Nothing fancy, fair warning. Augusto smiled at the honesty of the warning and replied, simply, "It'll be perfect." After his morning routine, he spent the morning tying up loose ends. He wanted the day completely free, with no work interruptions. At noon, he received a call from Victor. "Augusto, reconsider the club? Your table's still reserved." "No, Victor. As I said, I have other plans." "With who?" The direct question reflected his partner's disbelief. "In 15 years, you've never skipped a club dinner." Augusto considered how to respond. "Let's just say I met someone who made me a more interesting offer." A whistle came from the other end of the line. Well, a woman. About time. Anyone I know." "No, you don't know her, and I'd rather not discuss it further." "Fine," Victor replied, though his tone suggested the topic wouldn't be dropped easily. "But if you change your mind, call me." After hanging up, Augusto stared at his phone. It was so strange that he preferred a homemade dinner with genuine people over a night of frivolity at the club. When had his life become so predictable, so empty? By mid-afternoon, Augusto faced an unfamiliar dilemma: what to wear. He didn't want to seem too formal, but also didn't want to appear disrespectful. He settled on dark trousers, a gray cashmere sweater, and an elegant but understated coat. No gold cufflinks or collector's watches, just a man visiting friends on Christmas Eve. The word friends echoed in his mind as he drove. Were they friends? He barely knew Mariana and Joao, yet he felt a connection with them he hadn't experienced with people he'd known for years. Meanwhile, in her small apartment, Mariana rushed between the kitchen and the living room. The turkey was in the oven, filling the space with its tempting aroma. She decorated the table with her best: a tablecloth embroidered by her grandmother, glassware reserved for special occasions, and candles bought with the ingredients Augusto had added to her cart. Joao followed her everywhere, dressed in his festive clothes: slightly oversized dress pants bought to last, and a light blue shirt she'd carefully ironed. "Mommy, how long until Mr. Augusto comes? Do you think he'll like my drawing?" Mariana smiled at her son's enthusiasm. He'd spent the morning crafting a Christmas card for their guest, a Christmas tree with 3 figures labeled Mommy, Me, and Mr. Augusto. "I'm sure he'll love it," she replied, adjusting Joao's shirt. "And remember, you can just call him Augusto, like a friend." Joao's question made her pause. "Like a friend?" "Yes, like a special friend of yours." Joao insisted with that childish insight that sometimes surprised her. "A new friend for both of us," she replied diplomatically, avoiding her son's curious gaze. "Now help me set these napkins." At 6:30, Mariana allowed herself a moment to check her reflection. She'd chosen a simple but elegant burgundy dress she rarely wore. She'd applied light makeup and tied her hair in a soft bun. She wasn't trying to impress, she told herself. Just look presentable for the occasion. "You look beautiful, Mommy," Joao commented from the bathroom doorway. "Like a Christmas princess." Mariana laughed, grateful for the simplicity of children's compliments. "And you look like a very handsome prince." At 6:50, the doorbell rang. Joao raced to the door, so fast he nearly slipped in the hallway. "Wait!" Mariana stopped him. Remember what we talked about opening the door. Ask who it is first. Joao recited obediently. Exactly. Joao approached the door. Who is it? He asked in a sing-song voice. Augusto, came the reply, with gifts for Joao and his mom. The word gifts was all Joao needed. He looked at his mother with pleading eyes until she nodded, allowing him to open the door. Augusto stood in the doorway, holding several elegantly wrapped gift bags and a bouquet of white and red flowers. He seemed slightly nervous, an unusual state for a man accustomed to commanding boardrooms with the country's most powerful executives. You came, Joao exclaimed, his smile lighting up his face. As promised, Augusto replied, crouching to the boy's level, and I brought something special for the best reindeer in the class. Joao bounced with excitement as Mariana watched the scene with a mix of warmth and something akin to disbelief. The powerful businessman, she'd researched who Augusto de Lima was after their encounter, looked surprisingly natural interacting with her 5-year-old son. Welcome, she said finally, stepping forward. Please, come in. Augusto handed her the bouquet. Thank you for the invitation. It smells wonderful. It's the turkey, Mariana replied, feeling a slight blush at the implicit compliment. I hope you like it. It's not haute cuisine, but I'm sure it'll be the best dinner I've had in years, he interrupted sincerely. The apartment was exactly as Augusto had imagined, modest but cozy, decorated with personal touches that reflected its inhabitants' personalities. Photos of Joao at various stages of growth, framed children's drawings, well-tended plants by the windows, and a small, neatly arranged bookshelf. Nothing luxurious, but everything was impeccably clean and organized. Look what I drew for you, Joao exclaimed, running to fetch his card. He handed it to Augusto with the pride of an artist presenting a masterpiece. Augusto examined the drawing with genuine interest. It's magnificent, Joao. Look how you captured all the details of the tree. And this is us, right? Yes. Joao nodded enthusiastically. You, Mommy, and me, a Christmas family. The innocent comment created a brief silence between the adults. Mariana seemed momentarily uncomfortable, but Augusto responded naturally. It's the best gift I received this Christmas. I'll keep it forever. The tension dissolved, and Mariana smiled, grateful for how Augusto handled the moment. Would you like something to drink while we finish setting the table? She offered. Whatever you have is fine, he replied, handing her the gift bags. These are for you. Nothing extravagant, I promise. Mariana hesitated before accepting them. You didn't have to. Please, he insisted gently. It would make me happy if you accepted them. Joao was already investigating the bags with the curiosity typical of his age. Can we open them now, Mommy? Please. After dinner, she replied automatically, then looked at Augusto. If that's okay with you. As you prefer, he nodded. Though I hear in some families, it's tradition to open one gift on Christmas Eve. Yes, Joao exclaimed. Like at Miguel's house. He always opens one on Christmas Eve. Mariana gave in with a resigned smile. All right, one gift now, the rest tomorrow. As Joao carefully chose which package to open first, Mariana led Augusto to the small kitchen. The contrast of professional kitchens he was used to was stark, but there was something infinitely more appealing about this space, where every utensil had a story and purpose. I hope it's not too simple for you, she commented, pouring a bit of red wine into a glass. I'm not used to hosting guests of your level. Augusto took the glass, appreciating the gesture. Mariana, I haven't felt this comfortable in a place in years. Your home is perfect precisely because it's authentic. She studied him, assessing the sincerity of his words. What she saw seemed to convince her, as her posture visibly relaxed. Mommy, look. Joao's excited voice interrupted the moment. He ran into the kitchen, holding the reindeer plush toy Augusto had bought. It's just like my costume. It's beautiful, sweetheart, Mariana smiled. What do we say? Joao turned to Augusto with a solemn expression. Thank you so much, Mr. Augusto. It's the best reindeer in the world. I'm glad you like it, Augusto replied, surprised by the warmth he felt at the boy's reaction. No successful negotiation or multimillion-dollar acquisition had ever brought him such satisfaction. The next few minutes passed in a coordinated dance as they finished preparing dinner. To Mariana's surprise, Augusto offered to help and proved quite competent at slicing bread and preparing a salad. He explained that while he now had staff to cook for him, during his university years, he lived alone and had to prepare his own meals. Really? Mariana asked with genuine interest. I can't picture you cooking instant noodles in a dorm. Augusto laughed. You should. My specialty was elaborate sandwiches. My roommate said I could turn any leftover into a delicacy with enough mayonnaise and creativity. This unfamiliar side of Augusto fascinated Mariana. It didn't align with the image of the ruthless businessman she researched online, owner of a real estate empire worth millions. When they finally sat at the table, Joao insisted Augusto take the head seat. Because you're our special guest, he explained with the irrefutable logic of a 5-year-old. Mariana had prepared a traditional dinner: roasted turkey, mashed potatoes, sautéed vegetables, and an apple pie for dessert. Nothing extraordinary in culinary terms, but cooked with care and attention. This looks delicious, Augusto commented sincerely as Mariana served the plates. I hope it tastes as good as it smells, she replied with a mix of pride and nervousness. Joao watched everything with bright eyes, splitting his attention between his new reindeer plush and the interaction between the adults. Before we start, Mariana said, in our house, we have a little tradition. Everyone says something they're grateful for this year. She looked at Augusto with slight shyness. If it's not too much to ask. Not at all, he replied. It's a beautiful tradition. Me first, Joao exclaimed, raising his hand as if in school. I'm grateful for my new reindeer, for the turkey that smells so good, and because Mommy isn't sad like before. The simplicity and honesty of his gratitude touched the adults. My turn, Mariana continued after a moment. I'm grateful for having such a wonderful son, for having work and health, and, she hesitated briefly, for unexpected new friendships. Her gaze met Augusto's for an instant before she looked down at her plate. And Augusto began, surprised by the lump in his throat, I'm grateful for being included at this table, for receiving the generosity of opening your home to a stranger, and for rediscovering, thanks to you, what Christmas really means. His words, spoken with simplicity but deep sincerity, created a moment of connection that transcended the social and economic differences that should have separated them. Now let's eat, Joao declared, breaking the moment with his childish enthusiasm. And so, under the warm glow of the candles Mariana had arranged, began a dinner none of them would ever forget. The first bite of turkey elicited an unexpected reaction from Augusto. He closed his eyes briefly, savoring the food as if it were the first time he'd tasted something authentic. This is delicious, he said sincerely. Truly delicious. Mariana smiled, visibly pleased. It's my mother's recipe. Nothing fancy, but it has its secrets. The best dishes always do, Augusto replied. In fine dining restaurants, they try so hard to impress that they sometimes forget food should, above all, comfort. The dinner unfolded with a naturalness that surprised both adults. Joao led much of the conversation, jumping from topic to topic with enthusiasm typical of his age. His reindeer role in the school play, his kindergarten friends, the puppy he hoped to have someday. Do you have pets? He asked Augusto as he tackled his second piece of turkey. Not currently, Augusto replied. Though when I was a kid, I had a dog named Duke. Why don't you have one now? Don't you like animals? Joao, Mariana gently reprimanded. Don't bombard Augusto with so many questions. It's okay, Augusto smiled. It's a valid question. The truth is, I travel too much for work. It wouldn't be fair to have a pet that spends so much time alone. Couldn't you hire someone to take care of it? Joao suggested with a child's practical logic. I could, Augusto conceded. But a dog needs more than just physical care. It needs companionship, affection, time together. That's not something you can fully delegate. Mariana observed Augusto with renewed interest. His response revealed a sensitivity that contrasted with the public image of the ruthless businessman she'd researched. And what exactly do you do? She asked, seizing the opportunity. You mentioned you're in the hotel business. But I sense it's more than that. Augusto hesitated briefly. He didn't want his financial status to change the evening's dynamic, but he also didn't want to lie. I develop properties, he replied finally. Mainly hotels and residential complexes. Like which ones? Mariana's curiosity was genuine. The horizon in the northern zone, the dunes on the coast. He mentioned some of his best-known projects, watching her reaction closely. Mariana's eyes widened slightly. Those are yours? I pass by the horizon every day on my way to work. It's impressive. Not just mine, Augusto clarified. I have investors and partners. But yes, my company developed them. So you're, really important, Joao interjected, impressed. Augusto smiled at the childish simplification. In some circles, maybe, but tonight, I'm just a guest grateful to share this dinner with you. The response seemed to satisfy Joao, who quickly shifted to the board game he was eager to open after dinner. Mariana, however, held Augusto's gaze for a few seconds longer, as if trying to reconcile the millionaire entrepreneur with the simple man sharing her table. When dessert arrived, the conversation had turned more personal. Augusto shared stories of his early years building his company, the initial struggles, the failures that preceded success. People only see the final result, he explained while savoring the apple pie. Not the moments of doubt, the overwhelming loans, the sleepless nights. I understand completely, Mariana nodded. On a different scale, of course. What do you mean? The sacrifices, the doubts. Mariana toyed with her fork. When Alberto left us, I had to reorganize our entire life. There were moments I didn't know if I could pay the next month's rent. I learned to live day by day. The vulnerability in her voice moved Augusto. That takes a special kind of courage, he said. I only risked money and pride. You had so much more at stake. Their eyes met briefly in a moment of mutual understanding that transcended their differing circumstances. I'm done, Joao announced, showing his empty plate. Can we open the gifts now? Just one more tonight. Mariana reminded him. The rest tomorrow. As Joao ran to fetch another package from Augusto's gifts, Mariana began clearing the plates. Augusto stood to help, following her to the kitchen. Let me help, he offered, picking up a dish towel to dry the plate she washed. You don't have to. Please, he insisted. I'd like to contribute. They worked in comfortable silence for a few minutes, establishing a natural rhythm. She washed, he dried. The domesticity of the scene was strangely satisfying for both. Can I ask you something personal? Mariana said finally, keeping her eyes on the plate she was rinsing. Go ahead. With your position, you must know a lot of people have many options for the holidays. Why did you choose to dine with us? With two complete strangers? Augusto considered the question with the seriousness it deserved. Precisely because you were strangers, or are, he said, in my world, everything has an ulterior motive. Every invitation, every conversation, every seemingly kind gesture always has something behind it. A potential contract, a future favor, a strategic alliance. No one approaches me for who I am, but for what I represent or can offer. He set the towel on the counter, searching for the right words. When I overheard you in the supermarket, I saw something real. A mother being honest with her son about a difficult situation, a child showing understanding beyond his years. Neither of you knew who I was, nor did you care. That authenticity drew me in like a magnet. Mariana absorbed his words in silence, reflecting on them. That must be hard, she said finally, not knowing if people are sincere with you. You get used to it, Augusta replied with a small smile. But that doesn't mean you don't crave something different. Mommy, Augusto, Joel's voice interrupted the moment. I found the one I want to open. They returned to the living room, where Joel held a rectangular box wrapped in silver paper. Can I? Mariana nodded, and the boy tore into the paper with enthusiasm. His eyes lit up as he discovered the board game Augusto had chosen. Wow! It has pirates and treasures, he exclaimed, examining the box with reverence. Can we play it now, please? Mariana checked the clock. One quick game. It's almost your bedtime. The next 45 minutes passed with laughter, shouts of victory, and playful complaints as the three navigated the colorful game board. Augusto, accustomed to high-stakes negotiations, found himself completely absorbed in the search for pirate treasures and avoiding the traps Joao cleverly set for him. Mariana watched their interaction, noting how Augusto transformed during the game. The formal rigidity that occasionally surfaced in his posture had vanished completely. He laughed openly, celebrated Joao's successes with genuine enthusiasm, and accepted his own defeats with humor and grace. "I won," Joao proclaimed, placing his piece on the treasure chest. "You're the best pirate, no doubt," Augusto conceded, feigning despair. "You've plundered my ships mercilessly. It's because you're really good at sharing your treasure," Joao replied with that innocent wisdom that sometimes emerged in his comments. The words, spoken without ulterior motive, resonated deeply with Augusto. Sharing his material wealth had never been an issue. He regularly donated to charities, funded scholarships, and supported community projects. But sharing his true self, his thoughts, his feelings, that was a treasure he guarded jealously. "Bedtime, Captain Pirate," Marianne announced, noticing Joao rubbing his eyes. "Tomorrow's Christmas, and you need to rest to open the rest of your gifts." "Will Augusto be here tomorrow?" Joao asked hopefully. The question created a moment of silent tension. They hadn't discussed plans beyond Christmas Eve dinner. "I have some commitments in the morning," Augusto replied cautiously, glancing at Mariana. "But if your mom doesn't mind, I could stop by in the afternoon." "Of course," Mariana said, surprised by the quickness of her response. "That would be nice." Joao's smile was immediate. "Awesome. We can play with all my new toys." After a bedtime routine that included brushing teeth, putting on pajamas, and a Christmas story, Joao finally settled into bed, clutching his new reindeer plush. He insisted Augusto join in the ritual, asking him to help tell the story. "Good night, Joao," Augusto said from the doorway of the small bedroom, moved by the trust the boy had so easily given him. "Good night," Joao replied, already half asleep. "I'm glad you're alone." "Alone?" Augusto didn't understand the reference. "Yeah, so we can share our Christmas with you." With those words, the boy finally succumbed to sleep. Mariana and Augusto returned to the living room in silence, each processing Joao's words in their own way. "He has a huge heart," Augusto commented finally. "He does." Mariana nodded with maternal pride. "Sometimes it scares me how perceptive he can be. He picks up on things even I don't notice." They sat on the couch, gazing at the small Christmas tree in the corner of the room. Its twinkling lights created hypnotic patterns in the dimness. "More wine," Mariana offered, "just a little." "Thank you." She poured 2 glasses and handed one to Augusto, sitting a bit closer this time. "It's been a wonderful evening," he said. "I can't remember the last time I enjoyed a Christmas dinner so much." "We enjoyed it too," she replied sincerely. "Joao especially. I haven't seen him this excited in a long time. He's an extraordinary kid." Augusto swirled the wine in his glass, watching its movement. "He deserves all the Christmas dinners in the world, and you deserve sincere company, not just people interested in what you can offer." Mariana looked at him softly. "And you deserve the same." The honesty of her words created a moment of unexpected intimacy. Augusto gazed at her, appreciating not only her physical beauty, but the inner strength she exuded, the dignity with which she faced her circumstances, the authenticity she'd shown since their first encounter. "I should go," he said finally, though he made no move to leave. "It's getting late." "Yes." Mariana nodded, equally still. "I suppose so." They sat in silence a moment longer, savoring the shared quiet. The faint Christmas music playing from the small radio in the kitchen, the moment of connection both felt, but neither dared name yet. Finally, Augusto stood, and Mariana walked him to the door. As they said goodbye, he gently took her hands in his. "Thank you," he said simply, "for everything." "Thank you," she replied, "for the gifts, the company, for making this Christmas special for Joao." "Tomorrow afternoon, then," Augusto confirmed. "We'll be waiting." When the door closed behind him, Augusto lingered in the hallway, feeling a mix of emotions he couldn't fully name. Joy, certainly gratitude, without a doubt, and something more, something warm and promising he hadn't felt in a long time. In her apartment, Mariana cleared the last remnants of dinner, softly humming a Christmas tune. She paused at the window, gazing at the city lights and reflecting on the unexpected twist of fate. Just days ago, she'd been worried about not giving Joao a traditional Christmas. Now, she smiled to herself. Now, Christmas promised to be far more meaningful than she'd ever imagined. Christmas morning dawned with an unusually clear sky for the season. Augusto woke early, as was his habit even on holidays. But something felt different. The usual emptiness he felt waking alone in his vast mansion was replaced by a strange warmth, an echo of the previous evening lingering in his memory. He made coffee and walked to the terrace overlooking the estate's gardens. The contrast with Mariana and Joao's small apartment was stark. Here, everything was designed to impress. Large windows, designer furniture, strategically placed artwork. Yet none of it had ever provided the sense of home he'd felt for a few hours in that modest two-bedroom apartment. His phone rang with a tone, reserved for work calls. It was Victor. "Merry Christmas, Augusto. How was your mysterious evening?" "Good morning, Victor. Merry Christmas to you, too." It was revealing. Revealing? Sounds intriguing. "I expect details when we meet." "We'll see," Augusto replied evasively. "Did you call for something specific?" "Yes. I got an email from the Japanese investors. They want to move up the meeting for the Osaka project." Augusto frowned. "Can't they wait until after the holidays?" "Apparently not. They're suggesting a video conference tomorrow." In any other moment, Augusto would have rearranged his schedule without hesitation. The Japanese investors represented an international expansion opportunity he'd pursued for months. But now, "Tomorrow won't work, Victor. I have personal commitments." The silence on the other end was telling. "Personal commitments? You?" "Yes, me," Augusto replied firmly. "Propose the day after. If that doesn't suit them, they'll have to wait until after New Year's." After hanging up, Augusto gazed at the city stretching beyond his property. Somewhere in that vast urban expanse, Mariana and Joao were likely waking, perhaps opening the gifts he'd left under their small tree. The mental image brought an involuntary smile. His phone buzzed with a message, a photo from Mariana. Joao, in pajamas with tousled hair, held the reindeer plush with a radiant smile. The message read simply, "Merry Christmas from your #1 fan. The second favorite plush after the reindeer you gave him." Augusto stared at the image for a long time, feeling something he took a moment to identify as simple, pure happiness. Meanwhile, in her apartment, Mariana watched Joao methodically unwrap the gifts Augusto had left. Besides a board game and reindeer plush, he'd chosen other presents with evident care. A construction kit suitable for his age, illustrated books about pirates and sea adventures, recalling Joao's enthusiasm for board game, and a small children's telescope with a note that read, "To explore the universe from your window." "Look, Mommy, I can see the stars." Joao held the telescope with reverence. "It's beautiful." Mariana nodded, touched by the thoughtfulness Augusto had put into each gift. They weren't just expensive items. They were selections reflecting genuine attention to Joao's interests and personality. For her, Augusto had left a package wrapped in silver paper with a handwritten card. "Something for you, though nothing could match the gift of your hospitality." Opening it, Mariana found an elegant cashmere shawl in deep blue tones, luxurious yet understated, exactly the kind of item she'd have chosen if she could afford it. Inside was an envelope. She opened it curiously, finding a certificate for an advanced architectural design course at the local university. Her eyes welled up as she read the accompanying note. "To keep building your dreams. No strings attached, just admiration for your talent and determination." "Oh, Mommy," Joao said, noticing her emotion. "Why are you crying? Don't you like your gift?" "I love it," she replied, wiping a tear. "Sometimes we cry when we're very happy, sweetheart." "Adults are weird," Joao declared with conviction, returning to his telescope. Mariana smiled, running her fingers over the soft fabric of the shawl. Augusto's gesture touched her deeply. He hadn't chosen ostentatious jewelry or expensive perfumes, the typical gift a wealthy man might select to impress. He'd opted for something beautiful yet practical. More importantly, he'd recognized and supported her deferred professional aspiration. The morning passed with games, laughter, and a simple meal prepared with leftovers from the previous night's dinner. Mariana noticed Joao repeatedly asking about Augusto, checking the time frequently. When's Augusto coming? After lunch. It's already afternoon. It's still early, sweetheart. Augusto said he'd come in the afternoon. We have to be patient. But she found herself glancing at the clock more often than usual, anticipating his arrival with a mix of nervousness and expectation she hadn't felt in a long time. Miles away, Augusto faced an unusual dilemma for him: what to bring for the afternoon visit. He didn't want to arrive empty-handed, but also didn't want to overwhelm Mariana with gifts that might make her uncomfortable. He settled on something simple, yet meaningful: fresh ingredients for homemade hot chocolate and cookie dough they could bake together. He recalled Joao mentioning how much he enjoyed decorating cookies with his mother. As he carefully selected each ingredient at a gourmet store near his home, Augusto reflected on the unexpected turn the holidays had taken. Just 3 days ago, he'd been preparing for another lonely Christmas surrounded by luxury, but devoid of genuine connections. Now, he was planning an afternoon of homemade cookies with a family he barely knew, but who had touched something deep within him. At 4 o'clock sharp, the doorbell of Mariana's apartment rang. Joao raced to the door, remembering his mother's safety instructions. "Who is it?" he asked, though the excitement in his voice betrayed that he already knew the answer. "Augusto, with supplies for a special Christmas cookie mission." The door flew open, revealing Joao with a look of absolute joy. He wore a new Christmas gift, a T-shirt with a pirate ship, and clutched a reindeer plush under his arm. "You came!" he exclaimed, as if he doubted Augusto's promise. "Of course," Augusto replied, crouching to his level. "Pirates always keep their word, right, Captain?" Joao nodded solemnly before noticing the bags Augusto carried. "What did you bring?" "Ingredients for a secret operation," Augusto explained in a conspiratorial tone. "But we'll need your mom's help." Mariana appeared in the hallway, and Augusto felt an odd flutter in his stomach. She wore simple jeans and a blue blouse, her hair in a casual ponytail. Nothing extraordinary, yet he found her absolutely beautiful in her naturalness. "Merry Christmas," she said with a smile that lit up her eyes. "Come in, please." "Merry Christmas," he replied, stepping into the apartment. "I hope I'm not interrupting." "We were just testing the telescope," Joao explained, grabbing Augusto's hand to lead him to the living room. "It's amazing. I can see the buildings across the city, like they're right in front of me." "I'm glad you like it," Augusto smiled, letting the boy guide him. "Thank you for the gifts," Mariana said as they walked. "They were very thoughtful, all of them." Her eyes met his briefly, and Augusto knew she was referring especially to the course certificate. "It's been a pleasure," he replied simply. Lifting the bags, he added, "I thought we could make Christmas cookies. Joao mentioned yesterday it's a tradition for you, too." Joao's eyes lit up. "Yes, Christmas cookies. Mommy and I always make them. But this year we were only going to make a few, because flour's expensive." "Joao," Mariana interrupted gently, "remember it's not polite to talk about prices." "It's okay," Augusto interjected. Joao's honesty is refreshing. "And now we have enough ingredients to make all the cookies we want." The small kitchen proved the perfect setting for the activity. Augusto displayed surprising culinary skills, explaining he'd worked part-time in a bakery during his university years to pay for his studies. "You? In a bakery?" Mariana asked incredulously while kneading the cookie dough. "Not always an entrepreneur," he smiled. "There was a time I needed every cent to afford college. My father believed in me forging my own path. But now you're rich, right?" Joao interjected with a child's bluntness, scattering flour across the counter and much of his shirt. "Joao," Mariana reprimanded again. "It doesn't bother me," Augusto assured. "Yes, Joao, now I have more money than I need. But you know what? Sometimes I find the best things in life are priceless. Like what? Joao asked, genuinely curious. Augusto considered the question while helping Joao cut the dough with star and Christmas tree molds. Like this afternoon, for example, he said, finally, making cookies with you too. The laughter, the company, the feeling of creating something together. I couldn't buy that even if I wanted to. Mariana looked at him with an unreadable expression, as if assessing sincerity of his words. The cookie-making turned into a festive activity that filled the entire afternoon. Joao insisted on decorating each one with colored icing and small candies, creating designs ranging from artistic to chaotic. Augusto joined in with enthusiasm, rediscovering a creative side he rarely had the chance to express in his daily life. "This one looks like you," Joao said, showing a star-shaped cookie decorated with what seemed to be a smiling face and what he described as fancy hair. "It's a great likeness," Augusto laughed. "Should I hire the artist for my next official portrait?" "Do you have official portraits?" Joao asked, fascinated. "Not really," Augusto admitted, "though there are some rather serious photos in my company's main office lobby. Maybe they should replace them with decorated cookies. It'd be much more welcoming." Mariana laughed at the mental image, and Augusto found himself unconsciously seeking ways to elicit that sound again. While the cookies baked, filling the apartment with their sweet spice aroma, they prepared hot chocolate, using a recipe Augusto had learned on a trip to Belgium. The combination of high-quality dark chocolate, cream, a hint of cinnamon, and nutmeg resulted in a drink Joao solemnly declared the best hot chocolate in the entire universe and beyond. The sun was setting when they finally sat in the living room with a plate of freshly baked cookies and steaming mugs of hot chocolate. Joao insisted they try the telescope before it got completely dark, positioning it strategically by the window. "Look, Augusto, can you see the big building with the antenna? Is that yours too?" "No, that belongs to a telecommunications company," Augusto replied, adjusting the focus slightly for the boy. "Which ones are yours?" "Let's see." Augusto scanned the horizon visible from the window. "See that glass building next to it, to the right of the cathedral? That's one of my company's projects." "It's huge!" Joao exclaimed, impressed. "It must have thousands of rooms." 122, to be exact. Augusto smiled. "But you know what? None of them feel as cozy as this apartment." The sincerity in his voice made Mariana look at him intently, as if trying to decipher the enigma of this man. A powerful entrepreneur and skyscraper builder finding warmth in a modest apartment while baking Christmas cookies with a 5-year-old. "Why?" she asked softly. Augusto turned from the telescope, meeting her questioning eyes. "Because there's real life here," he replied simply. "Out there, we build spaces for living. Here, you truly live." Night had fully fallen when they finished cleaning up the last remnants of their Christmas baking session. The kitchen, though spotless again thanks to their joint effort, retained the sweet aroma of freshly baked cookies. Joao, his face slightly smeared with chocolate despite Mariana's attempts to clean it, continued enthusiastically explaining his plans for the telescope. "I'll be able to see the moon and stars. Miguel says his older brother saw a satellite once. Do you think I'll see one too?" "I'm sure you will," Augusto replied, helping store the last cookies in an airtight container. "You just need patience and a clear sky." Mariana watched their interaction with a mix of awe and warmth. In just 2 days, Augusto had formed a connection with Joao that seemed to have always existed. There was no condescension in his treatment of the boy, only genuine respect and attention. "Time to get ready for bed," Mariana announced, noticing Joao starting to yawn despite his enthusiasm. "Tomorrow you can keep exploring the universe, but Augusto's leaving?" The concern in the boy's voice was evident. Augusto exchanged a quick glance with Mariana, seeking her guidance. He didn't want to overstep boundaries or assume anything. "Well," Mariana began hesitantly, "Augusto can stay a bit longer if he wants. We could have some tea while you fall asleep." "You'll stay?" Joao turned his hopeful eyes to Augusto. "I'd love to," he replied softly. The bedtime routine became a collaborative effort. While Mariana oversaw bath time in pajamas, Augusto was honored with reading the bedtime story, a tale about a boy traveling to the stars, particularly fitting given the new telescope. Will you come back tomorrow? Joao asked as his eyelids began to droop, fighting sleep. Augusto glanced briefly at Mariana, who stood in the doorway watching them. If your mom's okay with it, he replied cautiously. MHM, Joao murmured, already half asleep. Could you stay forever? The innocent words hung in the air, heavy with meaning neither adult was ready to address directly. Augusto placed a gentle kiss on the boy's forehead, a gesture that came naturally without premeditation. Sweet dreams, Captain, he whispered. When they returned to the living room, a comfortable silence settled between them. Mariana prepared tea, grateful for the task that gave her something to do with her hands and a moment to organize her thoughts. He's extraordinary, Augusto commented finally, accepting the cup she offered. Who, Joao? His ability to accept me without reservation, his spiritual generosity. Mariana smiled with maternal pride. Children have that quality. They see the essential in people without prejudice or calculation. A talent we lose with age, unfortunately. They sat on the couch, gazing at the twinkling lights of the small Christmas tree. Their closeness felt natural, as if they'd shared many such evenings. The certificate for the course, Mariana began, turning the cup in her hands. It's too generous. It's not generosity, Augusto replied firmly. It's recognition. I saw your approach in the supermarket, how you explained to Joao why you couldn't afford certain things. You have a clear, practical intelligence that should be designing buildings, not cleaning offices. Mariana looked at him directly, assessing the sincerity of his words. What she saw moved her deeply. Why are you doing all this, Augusto? Really, the question hung between them, laden with vulnerability. At first, it was an impulse, he admitted. Deciding complete honesty was the only path. I saw a mother explaining with dignity to her son why there wouldn't be a Christmas dinner, and I felt not pity, he clarified quickly, but admiration, and also recognition of something authentic in a world that, for me, had become increasingly artificial. Augusto set his cup on the table, searching for the right words. In my daily reality, Mariana, everything is transactional. Relationships, conversations, seemingly kind gestures, all have an ulterior motive, and I'd become part of that system. He paused, organizing his thoughts. But then you two appeared. You and Joao, not knowing who I was, showed me something real, and I realized how starved I was for authenticity. Mariana listened attentively, without interrupting. What began as an impulse, he continued, turned into something deeper when I truly met you. Joao, with his open heart and boundless imagination, and you, his voice softened, with your quiet strength, your unbreakable dignity, your ability to create a true home with so little. We don't have much, Mariana admitted, but we try to make what we have worthwhile. And you succeed. This apartment has more warmth, more life, more meaning than my entire mansion. They looked at each other in silence for a moment, aware that something significant was taking shape between them. Something fragile but promising. I'm scared, Mariana confessed finally. Of what? Of this, of what's happening. She gestured vaguely, encompassing them both. Our worlds are so different, Augusto. You build skyscrapers. I clean offices. I don't want Joao to get his hopes up about something that might disappear when... She stopped, unsure how to continue. When I get bored of playing happy family with you. Augusto finished, identifying her unspoken fear. Mariana nodded slightly, embarrassed but honest. It's an understandable fear, he acknowledged. And I can't offer absolute guarantees because life doesn't work that way. But I can tell you this. What I found here with you isn't a whim or a novelty. It's... He searched for the right word. Like finding an oasis after years of crossing a desert I didn't even know I was traversing. He gently took Mariana's hand in his. I don't know exactly what the path ahead looks like, but I do know I want to walk it with you both, if you'll let me. Mariana's eyes welled up. Joao already adores you, she said, her voice trembling. I've never seen him connect like this with an adult, not even his father when he was still with us. And you? Augusto asked softly. What do you feel? Mariana considered the question, appreciating that he sought her feelings, not just Joao's. So many men saw single mothers as an inseparable package with their children, without considering their personal needs and desires. I think I'm scared of how easy it's been to let you into our lives, she confessed, and how much I'd like you to stay. Augusto felt something expand in his chest, a warmth he didn't recall feeling before. Without words, he gently brought his hand to Mariana's cheek, giving her time to pull away if she wished. She didn't. Instead, she leaned slightly into his touch, closing her eyes briefly. The kiss that followed was soft, tentative, a first step on an unknown but promising path. When they parted, both were smiling. "I think Christmas cookies will be our new tradition," Augusto murmured. "Our?" The word carried an implicit question. "If you want it to be," he replied. "I'm not trying to rush anything, Mariana. We can build this slowly, with solid foundations like the best buildings." She smiled at the architectural metaphor. "I'd like that." The next morning, Joao awoke to the surprise of finding Augusto making pancakes in the kitchen, as if he'd always belonged there. Far from questioning it, the boy accepted his presence with the naturalness of someone finding exactly what they expected. Over breakfast, Augusto told him about a property his company had recently acquired, a house with a garden on the city's outskirts, originally designed as a model project but currently unused. "It needs some repairs and a personal touch," he explained, trying to keep his tone casual. "I was thinking of turning it into a rental property, but now I wonder if you could help me decide what to do with it." Joao's eyes lit up. "Does it have space for a dog?" "I've always wanted a dog, but Mommy says our apartment is too small." "It has a fairly large garden," Augusto replied, looking at Mariana. "Perfect for a dog, I think." Mariana understood the implicit proposal and considered it carefully. She wasn't a woman who made rash decisions, especially when they affected Joao. But something inside told her this man, who had entered their lives by chance, or perhaps by fate, in a supermarket, was genuine in his intentions. "I'd like to see that house," she said finally, to give a professional opinion on its architectural potential. "Of course," Augusto smiled, understanding she needed to proceed cautiously, setting clear boundaries for Joao's sake and her own. A purely professional consultation. Joao watched them, sensing something important was happening between the adults. "Can we bring the leftover cookies when we go see the house?" he asked, oblivious of the moment's complexities, but perfectly attuned to what mattered. "Cookies are essential," Augusto confirmed solemnly. "No house is complete without good Christmas cookies." Mariana looked at this man who had transformed what promised to be a sad Christmas into something magical. Not through expensive gifts, though those were present, but through his genuine presence, his respect for them, and his ability to find joy in the simple things his world of luxury had forgotten to value. "I guess we did have a Christmas dinner this year after all," she commented with a smile. "And it was the best of my life," Augusto replied with a certainty that came from the soul, as Joao ran to fetch his telescope. Insisting it was essential equipment for any expedition to a new house, Augusto and Mariana shared a knowing glance. The future unfolding before them was filled with uncertainties, adjustments, and challenges, but also possibilities. An impromptu family, born from a chance encounter, bound by something far more valuable than the gifts under the tree, the ability to see beyond appearances and find a home in the hearts of others. Because, in the end, that was Christmas, not opulent feasts or costly gifts, but the magic that arises when hearts open and lonely souls find their place in the world. A lesson a millionaire had learned thanks to a simple phrase overheard in a supermarket. "Son, forgive Mommy. There's no dinner this year." Only now, there were dinners, breakfasts, cookies, and all the shared meals a true family could wish for.